Guru Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Gurave Sarvalokanam Vishaje Bhavaroginam Nidhaye Sarva Vidyanam Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Harihi Om. Om Bhadram Karne Vishrunuyaama Devaha Bhadram Pashyemakshabhiryajatraha Sthirairangaihi Stuštuvagam Sastanubihi Yashema Devahitam Yadayuhu Swasti na Indro Vruddhashravaha Swasti nah Pusha Vishvavedaha Swasti nastarksho Arishtanemihi Swasti no Bruhaspatirtadhatu Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Hari. Share Gurudev. See, we experience three types of realities. One that you experience when you dream. Second, that which you experience when you are fully awake right now, as we are communicating with each other. And the third is when you are with the witness. So depending upon what you associate with, you experience that type of reality. And this experience of the reality is called as Jiva. The Jiva that associates itself with the dream is called as pratibhasika Jiva, which means the imagined reality. We'll come to why it is called imagined. The Jiva which identifies with the body-mind is called as the transactional reality or the vyavaharika Jiva. And the Jiva that associates with the witness is called as the paramarthika Jiva, which is the absolute reality or the true self. And if you observe carefully, the dream state is a state of partially active mind. The wakeful state is a state of fully active mind. And the state of witness is a state of no mind or a subdued mind. And among these three jivas, the absolute reality or the paramarthika jiva is only considered as real, and the other two are not. The other two, which is the transactional jiva, vyavaharika jiva, and the pratibhasika jiva, the imagined, the dreaming reality, they belong to matter. They are material because they only, what you experience when you are dreaming or when you are fully awake is names and forms and your interaction with names and forms. Yeah? But when you come to the witness, the names and forms become secondary. It is just the presence which becomes important. The presence is beyond names and forms. Now, why this paramarthika or the witness consciousness is called real is because it totally reflects the Brahman. The three aspects of Brahman, which is Brahman means just pure consciousness. Okay, the three aspects of pure consciousness, which is Asti, Bhati, and Preeti, or Sat, Chit, and Ananda, which we say. All these three are experienced in the witness state readily. Second, that state of witness is unchanging, and we all know this, isn't it? As far as we can remember, when we say I, oh, I saw that, I enjoyed it, I went there, what is that I you refer to? That I has not changed at all. Do you notice? You see everything else changing. You see somebody growing up, somebody growing old, some many things changing around you, but you don't see something inside you does not change. That witness. So it is unchanging. It is eternal. It's been there all the time. And it exists through all the three states of three common states of consciousness, like the wakeful state, the dream state, and the deep sleep state. Isn't it? Now, if you look at the other two, the dream exists only when there is a dream. The dream does not exist when you are awake. So, it is not eternal. And it is changing. The dreams are not continuous, they are not the same. And when you are awake, what you experience, you don't experience that in deep sleep. So it is discontinuous again. It is not eternal. It disappears in your deep sleep. So it is not eternal. The only thing that stays throughout your dream, wakeful state as well as deep sleep is this witness, is this presence. You may say that, oh, in deep sleep everything is gone. I experience nothing. You don't experience nothing. You have the experience of nothingness. You still are there. It is the experience of nothing is deep sleep. That is why when you wake up and say, oh, I feel so good, I slept so well. Where did that come from? So, the dream state has two characteristics. One, it is not logical. Second, it is not continuous. Not logical means what? You can do anything in your dream, isn't it? You can walk through the doors, through the walls, you can jump somewhere, you can fly, you can do whatever you want. It is not logical at all. And it is not continuous. Say, for example, in your dream, you are in the hotel, you had ordered some nice food, you are about to eat your food, suddenly your alarm goes off and you wake up. So when you go back to sleep again, or when you go to sleep the next day, that whatever you had ordered, it's not there, it's all gone. You can't say, oh, yesterday I had ordered, I was about to eat, where is it gone? No, it's not there. It is discontinuous. And that hotel is also not there. In which hotel you are about to eat, that restaurant is also gone, isn't it? So it is not logical and it is not continuous also. Yeah? Now, if you look at the transactional reality, this world where we are, we feel it is very real because it has two qualities. One, it is logical, and two, it is continuous. You sleep tonight and tomorrow morning you only wake up. And if you had left some food in the fridge last night, today it is still there. You can go and access it and eat it. If you had watched a movie half yesterday, if you switch on Netflix, it starts from the same point again. So it is continuous and it is logical. There is a pattern to our life in the transactional world. Whoever was your child, tomorrow still is a child. Whatever the money was there in your account tonight, tomorrow morning the same thing will be there. So there is a pattern which is very predictable. There is a predictability in the transaction which is very logical. A science dwells on this, logic and proof. And when you can't give logic or proof, science struggles to put emphasis on this. And this reality is a conditioned reality. You are trained to see it in this particular way. You are trained to say that, okay, this is what joy is, this is what pleasure. Like, for example, we have taken this example before, birth and death. You are conditioned to believe birth is good, death is bad. So you congratulate birth and you condole death. There's a beautiful story, a very popular story in the Upanishads. There was a master and he had 10 disciples. So they were moving from one town to another. They had to cross a river. The master told the disciples, you all go, I will come a bit later. So these disciples went, they crossed. As soon as they came to the other end, there was one doubting Thomas in them. He said, are we sure all of us crossed? What if somebody has drowned? Let us just count just to make sure. So he just started counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh my God, there are only 9 of us. The 10th one has drowned. Then there was another person who was a little bit more intelligent. He said, oh, you are always suspicious. So let me count. You stay. He counted again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, definitely 10th one is gone. So they all started to panic. So by this time the Guru comes and he knows what is happening, and then he glances and says, oh, there are 10 of them here. Why are they panicking? And then they say, Gurudev, this is what happened. One of us has drowned. One of us has drowned. He says, okay, don't worry. Calm down. Take a deep breath. Everybody is here. He said, no, we counted twice. We counted 3 times. So, okay, we'll do it again. So all stand in a line. And then he told the doubting person, okay, you count everybody. So he counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. He came, see, I told you there are only 9. And he was pointing, the Guru held his hand and turned it back and said, you are the 10th. Now, why did they miss the 10th person? Did they not know how to count? They all knew how to count. But what was the thing? Their perception, their conditioning was 9 people are outside, the 10th will also be outside. So they were looking in the wrong place. They never looked at the one who is counting is the 10th. This is how the mind works. It is a conditioned reality and it does not dwell on something which is abstract. That is why the witness or the self becomes very difficult for the mind to comprehend, because it tries to see that also as an object. Because whatever you point to, that is outside me and that is an object. That is the reason why all our gods have become objects. All the gods have got names and forms and qualities and attributes, good and bad, everything. Why? Because the superimposition of this subtle body of the mind on the Brahman. You superimpose your own conditioned reality onto the absolute reality. And you see that is how it is. Are you getting this? Yeah. So, the transactional reality is logical. It is continuous. But it is conditioned. Then we have got the witness consciousness. The witness is neither logical nor continuous unless you are enlightened, but it is eternal. The dream reality dwells on imagination. The transactional reality dwells on logic. The witness consciousness dwells on intuition. It is the realm of intuition in which it exists. Now, why is it that we are able to be in the witness only for a short period of time? Why do we slip off? See, we are listening to this knowledge, we meditate, and when we do some process, suddenly you become aware. become aware of the witness. You become aware. But the moment the meditation ends, in a few minutes you drift off. And especially when the session ends and you go back, then you engage in the world as if it is real. You listen to this whole lecture on Vedanta. You also meditated. You felt, yes, this is right. But in 15 minutes it was all evaporated. Why? Why did this happen? And that is what Maya is. What Maya does, it covers the witness. When the witness is covered, what is the next brightest thing? Is the mind, the subtle body which is closest to the witness. So that becomes prominent. And what is the quality of the mind? It is the rajas. Because the mind is rajas, it wants to act. And this action results in impression. The impression results in further actions and its consequences. And thus the whole web of karma is born. And that is what keeps on propelling the actions. And whenever you're in the realm of the mind, this is what you want. You want to do something, do something. You know, we discussed this story the other day. A disciple comes to the master and says, give me some knowledge. He says, just sit still. Without you doing anything, so much Maya is happening. And he says, no, I can't do something. Give me something to do. Then he says, okay, do some pranayama, do some meditation. Because that is, when you are in this transactional reality, when you think this is real, you are pushed into engage with this. You are pushed to act. And this action, reaction keeps on translating to so many interacting transactions. That's what also called as vyavaharika satya. This is the reality of transactions where you play around for the karma. That is why in this transactional reality, which is very common for most of us, two things appear. What is called as Jiva and Jagat. Jiva is the transactional self. Jagat is this transactional world. And this transactional world and the transactional self, which is the body-mind, is made up of 5 elements. Among these 5 elements, when the subtle body or the mind identifies more with the body, you experience more inertia. When you experience pain, misery, ill health, disease, sadness, you feel very heavy. Have you noticed? You feel dull and heavy. Why? Because the earth and the water element are the qualities of the gross body. Those both combined form the tamas guna. This gross body is tamasic. Just like the mind is rajasic and the causal body is sattvic, the gross body is tamasic. So when the subtle body strongly identifies with the gross body, all these inert tendencies surface up. You feel heavy, dull, depressed. All these things are heaviness. They drag you down. And what happens when you do sadhana? You feel light. You feel happy. You feel more alive. And these belong to the space element, air element, which are more active or more lighter. The purpose of sadhana is to engage your subtle body into a higher element such as space and air rather than on earth and water, if you want to scientifically explain this. The gross body has got no impact on it, so you can't change the proportion of the elements in it. But in the subtle body, it can change by the practices. So when it associates more with the spatial element, then it is more closer to the self, absolute self. That we can experience right now. Say for example, so let's right now do this. Okay, so right now you're sitting comfortably and become aware of your own physical body. Okay, become aware of this physical body. Keep your eyes open. Keep your eyes open and look at this. See, this is my body. I am using this body. I feel the sensations in this. Become aware of all the sensations in your body right now. And become aware that the breath is moving in and out of this body. And become aware that you are listening to what is being spoken through the ears. You're feeling the sensations through the skin. You can feel your tongue, the taste sensation. You can see through the eyes. And also become aware that what is seeing through all these senses, what is processing and perceiving is the mind. And I am now looking at the mind right now. And as you do that, you notice that the body becomes very still and steady. The breath becomes light. You feel a surge of prana coming up. You are more alive and alert. You feel a warm sensation around your face. And then a smile comes up on your face automatically. Do you see this? See how quickly the aliveness comes in you. So the qualities of the Brahman, which is the existence, consciousness and bliss, or Sat Chit and Ananda, you can generate in you straight away. The moment you withdraw and focus on the witness. It happens now, right now. This is what the purpose of sadhana is. What? To take you back to yourself again and again, so that when you engage in the world, every engagement, how do you engage in the world? Through the senses. What do senses do? They drain your prana. When the prana is drained, what happens? You feel dullness, heaviness, lethargy. The gross elements become important. They dominate. When you withdraw, when you meditate, what happens? You access the subtle element, and then you experience lightness, joy, alertness, knowledge. As simple as that. So the transactional self has got this choice to either engage in the world or to engage with the self. Depending upon how much sensitivity you have to life or how much prarabdha you already exhausted, you will develop this interest. See, in the spiritual path, birth is when a desire for knowledge comes. Death is when you have got no desire for knowledge. That means you are just existing, you are not alive. So this is the transactional self, which is the most important aspect as of now for us, for most people. This is where the reality is. And it is from here you move towards your absolute self, which is the witness. And it is very easy. Right now we did it. You just have to withdraw and be there. That awareness is there, and that comes through sadhana, to enhanced prana, and by being in knowledge again and again. Okay? So why do we slip out is because of the Maya. The moment the Maya takes over, what happens? The witness is covered and the mind becomes active. When the mind becomes alert, this whole Jiva and Jagat become real. And then you start acting and interacting with the world. Yeah? And why did this happen in the first place? Why did it start? In the Bhagavad, in the Puranas and all this, it's just a leela. The God was bored, so just wanted to have some fun. If everybody is blissed out in samadhi, in the witness, there is nothing happening in the world. So to keep something happening, some dynamicity, this was. On the other hand, it's just a playground for the karmas to play out. The subtle body tries to act. When it acts, there is a consequence, and the consequence produces more actions, and this action interaction, there is a platform which is needed for this to happen. And that platform is the world, the Jagat, the universe. Now, when did this all start is the next question. Was there a time when there was no creation, there was no universe, there was no Jiva, only Brahman existed? Upanishad said no. The Jiva and Jagat appear because of Maya. Maya is part of Brahman. If Brahman is eternal, Maya is also eternal. If Maya is projecting the Brahman as the Jiva and Jagat, then Jiva and Jagat are also eternal. Eternal sense, beginningless, anadikala. They have been there from the time the Brahman is there. So it is beyond the time. You can't say from that time. There is no that time. That is once again the logical mind trying to exert itself. But does it have an end? Yes. When does it end? and the Maya drops off. When you become enlightened, this transactional world does not exist. When the mind is subdued, as in meditation or deep sleep, this world does not exist. The Jiva, neither you exist nor the world exists. So there is an end for this transactional reality. There's an end for the dream. As soon as you wake up, the dream is end. And similarly, as soon as you become enlightened, when you go to deep sleep or when you are in samadhi, this transactional world also disappears. Yeah? And then there is this absorption resolution. The higher self projects itself as the lower self, and the lower self gets absorbed into the higher self. I will explain this to you. Water itself projects as a wave, and at the crest of the wave there is a foam. Yeah? Water is cool, water is sweet or salty, whatever, and water is wet. Now all these three qualities the wave also has. And all these three qualities the foam at the crest of the wave also has. Yeah? So the wave and the foam are projections of water. So the higher self, which is the water, which is always there, projects itself as wave and foam. When the foam dissolves, where does it dissolve into? Into the wave. When the wave recedes, where does it fall back into? Into the water. So the self, the water, stays all the time. It rises as wave and foam, then the wave and foam falls back into the water again. What remains is water. Similarly, the Brahman projects itself as the universe and the Jiva. But then when it is absorbed, it falls back. Just like when the dreamer wakes up, the dream world is lost. And when the waking person becomes enlightened, this waking world is also lost. The world as we see is lost. Yeah? So this we will go through the shlokas now to see this is exactly what they are saying. Why is this imaginary? How do we hold on to? There's few simple exercises which we will do at the end as well, and which we will take as a home going exercise. We do this every day so that you can come back and again to the witness. Okay, so what we'll do now is we'll go through the shlokas. Avachinnas chidabhasas tritiya swapna kalpitaha vigneyas trivido jiva tatra adyaha paramarthikaha. So there are three types of jivas. Avachinnas means the pure consciousness, that is the indivisible Brahman. Chidabhasa is the reflected consciousness or the subtle body or the mind. Swapna kalpitaha, the imagined world you see in the dream, is the third one. Among these, Tatra adyaha paramarthika, the first one, which is the pure consciousness, is called the paramarthika jiva or absolute reality. Avacheda kalpita syad avachedyam tu vastavam. The latter two, avacheda means the reflected one, kalpita, the imagined reality, are not real. Avachedyam tu, the one which is reflected, the pure consciousness, is real, but the reflections, which are nothing but the imagined reality, the transactional reality, they are unreal, they are illusory. Tasmin jivatvam aropat brahmatvam tu swabhavataha. So the reflected in the imagined consciousness, the dreamer and the transactional jivas, they impose themselves on the Brahman, and therefore the Brahman, which are which has got no attributes, appears as if it has got name, form and qualities. Avachinnasya jivasya purnena brahmanekatam. Avachinnasya jivas means this paramarthika jiva, which is nothing but which is related with the consciousness or the witness or the indivisible consciousness. It is completely inseparable from the Brahman. Tattvamasyadi vakyani jagur na itaro jivayo. When you say Aham Brahmasmi and you are that or I am Brahman, they refer only to the witness consciousness and not to the transactional reality or the imagined reality. The dreamer and the wakeful person, they are not eligible for to be called as the Brahman. That is why you see, we are okay when somebody says you are thin, you are fat, you are beautiful, you are ugly. We can accept it. Somebody says you are God, it becomes difficult. Why? Because we are thinking in terms of body mind only. But here the master clarifies his things. When I say you are that, when I say I am Brahman, I am not referring to the body mind complex at all or what I experience in the dream. I am only referring to that which I experience in meditation when I associate myself with the witness. Brahmani avastita maya vikshepa avrutti rupini avrutya akhandatam tasmin jagat jivau prakalpayet. The maya which is in the Brahman itself has two qualities, which is vikshepa and avrutti, projection and veiling, covering. Avrutya akhandatam, it covers the Brahman and then projects the jiva and the jagat. So what we see as the transactional reality, what we are now transacting in, and what we see this world around us is nothing but the projection of the maya. When the maya subsides, as in deep sleep, the projection also dies. Also, and in samadhi, when the world awareness drops down in a nirvikalpa samadhi, once again this jiva and jagat both disappear. Jivo dishta chida bhaso bhaved bhokta na karma krita bhogya rupamidam sarvam jagat syat bhuta bhautikam. So when the Brahman is veiled, when the real self is veiled, the subtle body or the mind takes over. Just like when the master is not in the house, the servant takes over as if he is the owner. Similarly, when the Brahman is veiled by Maya, the subtle body takes over. And subtle body is not fully aware of everything in the universe, but it assumes it knows. And by this assumption, it considers this universe as real, and because of its nature of rajas, starts acting, performing actions. Bhaved bhokta hi karma kriti. It performs actions and starts experiencing the results of those actions. And it considers bhuta bhautikam jagat, this world of the five elements, bhogya rupamidam sarvam. Everything that sees in this world of the five elements, it takes it as the playground where it can play, where it can enjoy, where you can express itself. This entire material world. So, just like when the sun is not there, the moon appears most luminous. When the Brahman is veiled by the mind or the Maya, the mind, the subtle body becomes very obvious. It assumes the masterness, and whatever it understands, it starts projecting it. So when it projects incompletely, you see it as a dream which is not logical, which is not continuous. When it is fully awake and is fully functional, then you see this jiva and jagat, this world of the five elements, in which it plays, it acts, and it experiences the results of those actions. What are those results? Mainly the suffering which we experience. There is some joy, but mostly it is pain and suffering. Anadi kalam arabhya mokshat purvamidam dvayam vyavahare sthitam tasmat ubhayam vyavaharikam. When did this start? Anadi kalam. It's been there from the beginning, as eternal as Brahman. Mokshat purvam idam dvayam. It will stay until you get liberated. Before liberation, this duality of Jiva and Jagat will continue to exist. Vyavahare sthitam tasmat ubhayam vyavaharikam. This transactional self, the Jiva and the Jagat in which it works, they both constitute what's called as the vyavaharika satya, and this continues until you become liberated. Life after life, you experience this as true reality until you become free, you become liberated, or until knowledge dawns in you. Chidabhasa sthita nidra vikshepa avrutti rupini avrutya jiva jagati purve nutane tu kalpayet. Now first he said, when the Brahman is veiled, this transaction world becomes alive, and you believe it life after life, you keep on holding on to it. But when you sleep, what happens? The vikshepa avrutti rupini maya will cover the jiva as well as the jagat. Both the jiva and jagat disappear. But when the mind slowly starts waking up little by little, then this imaginary world called the dream appears. Pratita kala evaite sthitavat pratibhasike nahi swapna prabuddhasya punah swapne stitistayoho. As long as you are dreaming, the dream world is real, very real. You enjoy, you suffer, you are scared. Every experience in the dream is real. When? Only as long as you are dreaming. But when the dream wears off, when you wake up, you don't see the same world at all. The world you see is different. And when you go back to sleep and dream again you don't see the same world. So whether you wake up or you go back to sleep and dream again, in both times the world which you are seeing right now in this dream is not repeated. That is why it is called imaginary. It's a kalpita word. Pratibhasika jivo yastat jagat pratibhasikam vastavam manyate anyastu mithyeti vyavaharika. As long as you are dreaming, the dreamer thinks this is the real world. At the moment he wakes up, the moment the transactional world appears, then he realizes that the dream world was an imagination. He realized that the dream was just mithya, was unreal, was imaginary, was illusory. When he was dreaming, it was not illusory. But when he woke up, it became illusory. It became, oh, that was just my mind. Oh, thank God it was a dream. Vyavaharika jivo yah tat jagat vyavaharikam satyam pratyeti mityeti manyate paramarthika. This transactional world appears real for the transactional jiva as long as the mind is fully active. Satyam pratyeti, the moment you become aware of the truth of the self, the moment the ignorance is removed and the truth shines itself, then you will see that this transactional world is also illusory. Just like the dream world appeared illusory for the enlightened, this waking world, this jiva and jagat is also illusory for the paramarthika jiva. Paramarthika jivastu brahmaikyam paramarthikam pratyeti vikshate na anyat vikshate tu anrit atmana. When you are established in the witness, when you are established as the paramarthika jiva, all you see is Brahman and nothing else. Only Brahman appears real, everything appears like a shadow. It's like you are seeing the sun and you know that all the reflections you see in the puddles of the sun, they are only reflections, they are unreal. Pratyeti vikshate na anyat. He does not see anything else apart from Brahman. Even if he sees, he knows it is only a reflection, it is not the real one. These are very important final shlokas. Madhurya drava shityani nira dharmas tarangake anugamyata tannishte fene api anugata yata. Sakshita Satchidananda Sambandhat Vyavaharike Tadvarena Anugachanti Tathaiva Pratibhasike. Just like the nature of water, which is madhurya, sweetness, drava, wetness, shityani, coolness, is reflected in the wave as well as in the foam of the wave. Similarly, the nature of the sakshi, the witness or the Brahman, which is Sat Chittana Ananda, is reflected in the waking world and the dream world, is reflected in the transactional self and the imagined self. Laye fenasya tad dharma dravadyah syu tarangake tasyapi vilaye nire tishtanti yeti yathapura. So when the foam dies, what happens? It gets absorbed into the wave. And all those qualities of wetness, coolness disappear with the foam into the wave. Similarly, when the wave settles down, these qualities settle down, dissolve into the water. Similarly, pratibhasika jivasya laye, when the dreamer wakes up, when the dream world is destroyed, sur vyavaharike, the transactional world is alive. When the transactional world is also destroyed, tatlaye satchidananda parya vasyanti sakshini. And when that disappears, that also is absorbed into the Brahman or the witness, which is nothing but existence, consciousness and bliss. So there we finish this beautiful text of Drik, Drishya, Viveka. And I will take you back to the first shloka. All you need to realize, remember, is these two shlokas and the first shloka. What? Rupam drishyam lochanam drik tad drishyam druktu manasam drishyadi vrittaya sakshi drigeva natu drishyate. From the obvious to the unobvious, from the gross to the subtle, all the scenery is an object. The eye is seeing it. When this eye becomes the object of the scenery, the mind becomes the seer. And the mind, the tendencies of the mind, the activities of the mind becomes the scenery, then the witness becomes the seer. And the witness stays unwitnessed. The witness is never witnessed. So, which means the witness can never be made an object of the scenery. Okay. There's one more thing I want you to tell. This is just an extra thing. This is for your, and if you are going to study Vedanta in the future, this may be helpful. See, Adi Shankara says the whole Upanishads can be summed up in one shloka. What? Brahma Satya Jagat Nitya Jiva Brahmeti Napara. Only Brahman is real. Everything else, the world is unreal. Jiva Brahmeti. There is no difference between the Jiva and the Brahman. We'll just deduce this mathematically. So, when the Maya is completely subdued in the Brahman, that state is the state of Samadhi. When only the presence is there, nothing else exists. State of deep meditation. When the Maya awakens in the Brahman, that entity becomes Ishvara, or you call that as a Purusha, which is the source of all creation. And in this Ishvara, when all the minds of the universe merge, that aspect is called Hiranyagarbha. You will find this word in many of the mantras. Hiranyagarbha. Hiranyagarbha is all the minds put together. When all the minds are put together, that mind is what plans and creates. Ishvara has the capability to create, but what creates the world is the Hiranyagarbha. This universe comes from the Hiranyagarbha, also called as the golden womb. The Hiranyagarbha is called. And when the Hiranyagarbha manifests the bodies, all the bodies in the world, when they come together, that is called as the Virat. This is what Krishna shows in the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna. The Virata Roop means what? The Virat is all the bodies of all the beings come together in one consciousness. This is called the Virat. So all the bodies amalgamated is the Virat, all the minds amalgamated is Hiranyagarbha, and all the causal bodies coming together is Ishvara. This is at the level of the universe. And if you look at the level of the individual, the same thing. When the individual is not influenced by Maya, it is in a state of Samadhi. Right now, when you meditate, you are in Samadhi, when you are able to drop the mind. And when the Maya is there but covers both the Jiva and the Jagat, that is a state of sleep. That state is called Pragya. And when the mind awakens, that state is the dream state. And when the mind awakens fully and experiences the body as well, that is called Vishwa, or the world. So here if you see in both the sides of the equation, if you know mathematics, all the things, the Ishvara, Hiranyagarbha, Virat, Pragya, Taijas, Vishwa, all those are only seen when Maya is active. You remove Maya, what remains? When Maya is taken away, what remains? Only Brahman, Samadhi, Jiva, Samadhi remains. When Brahman is equal to Samadhi and Jiva is also Samadhi, when there is no Maya, that's when Adi Shankara says, Jiva Brahmeti Napara. There is no difference between the Jiva and the Brahman because both are exactly the same in the state of Samadhi. So in meditation, both the words hold true. What? Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya. The world appears illusory and the self appears real, and there is no difference between the self and the Brahman. So just to summarize this whole text, which is so beautiful, what is it? The only reality in the existence is the witness, which is beyond name and form. And these three bodies, what do they help us? The three bodies, or we can also call it the five sheets or the Panchakoshas, they help us to separate the witness from the matter. Thereby you can be more established in the witness. And what prevents this differentiation is Maya. Maya projects the world, Maya veils the true reality. So that is why Maya is called Shakti for the divine, and it is a limitation for the weak, for the unwise. And Maya, mind, ignorance, they are all very close to each other. Win over your mind, bring some light to uncover your ignorance, then you overcome the Maya as well. And this state where you are able to realize that the mind is the culprit and able to drop it is called enlightenment. You know, you have been to this virtual reality shows, you put on the glass and then you see something which is not real, but it appears very real. Yeah. Enlightenment is when you know that you are just wearing that glass, I just need to take the glass off, then I will see the reality. And what is meditation? Meditation is that practice to stay in touch with the self, the space, the sattvic component of your existence. And know this, the lower self gets absorbed into the higher self and higher self, and using this principle, use the support of the higher self, use the support of the higher element, the space element, to overcome the problems of the earth and the water element. All the pain is earth and water, all the suffering is fire and air, all the bliss is space. So retreat to the bliss to overcome the pain and suffering of the body and the mind. See, we have completed another important text. This is so profound, isn't this? This is so deep. This is amazing. It's amazing if you had stayed with us for all these 5 sessions. And you just need to go back to this again and again. So some practices we need to do. What is it? Whenever you have time, just sit and separate yourself. Oh, what is happening in this body? I feel these sensations. I experience these sensations, but I am not this. Okay, then become aware of your breath. Okay, this breath which holds the prana is making all this drama in this body. Cells are born and cells die. I feel hunger, I feel pain, I feel joyful, I feel depressed. All this is just the play of the prana, this energy in me. But I am not this. This is just this energy that is playing. And then become of the mind. Oh, the mind is which is experiencing all that is happening outside, inside the body. But I am not this mind. You don't have to sit for 10 minutes and you can just sit and instantly you can realize. The moment you start, you are already in the witness. When the witness can start separating. You say, oh yes, oh I am this. I am witnessing all this. I am witnessing everything around me. I am witnessing this body. I am witnessing this activity of the prana. I am witnessing this mind. And I am that. I mean, the moment you get there, automatically you see the prana just shoots up like this in you. The prana starts flowing up, urdhvamukha. Through the chakras, it starts moving up, 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 up. Then you feel light, you feel energetic, and a smile comes to your face without any effort. Then, oh, I am. So, every night before you go to sleep, do this exercise. Okay? Become aware of the bed on which you are sleeping, the bedspread which you are covering yourself with a blanket. Then become aware of the body underneath that. Then become aware of the breath which is moving through this body. Become aware of the mind. And then say to yourself, I am the witness of this, all this that is happening. And the same thing when you wake up in the morning. Wake up in the morning and then see this consciousness, awareness flowing through you from the fingertips to your toes, from entire body. Feel it alive. And then you wake up with a smile saying that I am this witness. I am this bliss. Everything that is happening because the lower elements have gained predominance over the higher elements. And this awareness itself will make the space element come up in you. And then of course do your sadhana. And every time, again and again remind, when you are sitting and waiting in a traffic signal, you are suddenly waiting and suddenly, oh, what am I doing? Instead of making plans and worrying and complaining, go back to this exercise. Oh, when you keep doing this again and again and again, you know what? That's what we said. What is natural for the liberated is a practice for the seeker. So you practice being a witness again and again. And I will tell you, after a while, it automatically comes to you. You may not be enlightened, but you are not far away. You are actually separating, especially when you feel distressed and worried and low. Suddenly you withdraw and then you say, oh, what is happening? And instantly you are uplifted. Yeah? Very good. Very good. Don't think there are any more questions now. You know everything. And you know that, I'm a witness, but still look, I think this world is all real now. I'm getting engaged, I'm getting sucked into this world. So I come back, oh, I'm a witness. I'm seeing all this. So just reminding yourself of the knowledge again and again itself is good enough. That itself will do the magic. Okay. Jai Gurudev. Very good. So let's say the Shanti mantra. Then when the recording comes to, just go through this. Go through this again. Listen to this 3, 4, 5 times. Yeah. This is tapas svadhyaya, not this. Shravana manana nididhyasa should happen. You listen and then reflect and relate and then slowly absorb, integrate it. Otherwise we told on the first day, that story of the kidney transplant, that will happen. What? When you have a kidney transplant, to follow rules and regulations. If you don't follow, what happens? It will not integrate into the body, it will not give the benefit, and eventually it will die. So all this effort and time will go waste if you don't integrate, don't do the Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasa. Then it will become part of you. Very good. Om Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, Sarve santu niramayah, Sarve bhadrani pashyantu, Ma kaschid dukkha bhat bhave. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi